I do believe that my father got started in officiating back in the the late 1970s. He originally was working at the Rickwood Baseball Park where he grew up, and he noticed a lot of activity at the ballparks, and he wanted to be a part of that. My dad jumped right in, grabbed the reins, and took right off. My father's impact on sports in Birmingham was very pivotal. He was one of the original people to bring the 1996 Soccer Olympics to Birmingham. He made sure that that happened. My father was also pivotal by assisting 15 years to the Olympic Youth Development Program here in Birmingham. He loved sports. My father also officiated track and basketball in this city, all over this city, state, and nation. I would have to say that the most pivotal thing would be for him knowing that he was the go-to guy for most questions in soccer officiating. He loved to be the go-to guy for the younger people and the older people as well. Daddy studied a lot to make sure he was giving the correct information and that officials were knowledgeable, and he loved to share that knowledge with others. I think his sharing of knowledge put him in this position to receive this award today. I'd have to say my father's biggest influence on his officiating career would have to be me, myself. Not to sound arrogant, but my father was a single father, and he did everything to make sure that I had what I needed growing up, and he always reminded me that everything he did was for me to make sure that I was on the right track in life and that I had the correct start, and that I did the same for my family, and he wanted to make sure his name lived on, and I hope that I'm honoring him with that today. I would think, because my father was a very modest man and he didn't speak about embarrassments much at all, but I would have to think that when he was about 40 years old, my father had an episode where he fell out on the field in Tuscaloosa. It was an eye-opening event because he didn't want anyone to know what had happened, and at that time my father was advised of his health issues. And at that time he became even more an advocate for health on the field. Hydrations, just all the things that are necessary that even though you're out officiating on the field, you don't think about yourself a lot of times. My dad wanted to make sure that officials recognized the signs, health warnings, and different things of that nature. Even though that was an embarrassing moment, it was a teachable moment, and my dad always turned moments into teachable opportunities. The funniest thing that my dad and his crew did while officiating a game, I'd have to say, my father turned everything into a comical event. There were numerous times where everybody just felt like my dad was the light of the room. So even if it was a bad moment, he turned it into something fun. I can't say that there was one moment my father was on that field that he did not enjoy himself. Every moment my dad was on that field, he had a smile on his face. That made him what he was on the soccer field, on the track field, on the basketball court. He made it a great time for everyone. I would say officiating influenced my father's life in other areas by ways of diversifying. My father was able to, early on in the 70s, be pivotal in a city that was under a lot of negative influence, if you will, back in that time. My father was able to break down a lot of barriers, driving buses for the NYSP youth organization through towns and areas that weren't particularly happy about those people of color coming through those areas. My father wasn't afraid. He was 6'4", 270 pounds, so he wasn't a shy guy at all. I think the ability to make himself seen and his presence with those children made him keep going in the 80s with basketball, track, soccer, the 90s, and all into the millennium until 2016, until he took his last breath. This was something he wanted to do. He wanted to make his impact in the city and state of Alabama where he lived. And I think he did a wonderful job doing that. I raised my head high knowing that Paul Stanton Jr. was my father. I know 100% my father met his goal at officiating. He's received numerous awards, numerous accolades, and even at his passing, there were so many people We couldn't even capacitate them. I know that he made his impact, and he did just that. I think that this induction today means everything to my father. It shows that his work was not done in vain. He worked hard. He worked day and night. I can't think of a time when my father wasn't working. He worked 3 to 11 at Lawson State Community College. He got up in the mornings to take me to school, and every soccer, basketball tournament after 3 o'clock, my dad tried to be at least one field or court. This is what he was destined for. I am so glad to the Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame for nominating him, and the numerous people, Dave, Wanda, Sherilyn, Greg, everyone that had a hand in playing in this award today. I appreciate what you did for my father. You stood on a platform to speak for him in his absence, and we are honored that you did that. There's nothing that I could do or say to show more appreciation to this today. I know my father's in heaven smiling down with a big tube of popcorn or some peanuts like he used to be in the stands assessing this situation today. I am thankful, and he is also, I know he's gleaming down right now at this situation. He's proud of us. Destiny, he's proud that you graduated Stillman College with honors. Kylan, he's proud that you made the first ever Southampton Elementary School 100-meter hurdles first place trophy. Cleophas, he's proud that you graduated high school and that you have an amazing young son named Canaan that you're going to raise to be an excellent young man as my father was. I'm so glad that y'all gave me this opportunity today to speak for my father in his absence. I thank you. We thank you. Thank you.